The Misadventures of a Hidden World Complete Lore Breakdown, written and created by Chyil McGee. Also known as Josei Wopp, Mr. Lose His Top, most stories with a hero. This one begins with inheritance, not inheritance in the normal sense. Not money, not fame, not legacy built through love. This story begins with inherited rage, inherited war, inherited darkness. The Misadventures of a Hidden World is a supernatural action fantasy series built around one core idea. What happens when people inherit powers, trauma, enemies, and destinies they never asked for? At the center of everything is a teenager from Chicago named Wrath Van Ellis. Wrath isn't chosen because he's pure. He isn't chosen because he's special. He isn't even chosen because he's good. He becomes important because he survives something that should have killed him. And that changes the entire balance of the world. The world of the story. The universe of the Misadventures of a Hidden World exists in layers. The regular human world exists on the surface. Cities, schools, neighborhoods, politics, violence, money, war, social pressure, and everyday life. But underneath reality exists another dimension known as the Shadowland. The Shadowland is not hell. It is not heaven. It is not another planet. It is a living dimension created from negative human energy. Rage, greed, ambition, betrayal, fear, obsession, violence, revenge. Every war, every murder, every corrupt act, every selfish decision feeds the Shadowland. And at the center of it all is Berserk. Who is Berserk? Berserk is one of the oldest beings in existence. Long before modern civilization, Berserk was originally tied to higher cosmic balance. But over time, he became obsessed with control, evolution, and domination. He rejected limitations and embraced darker energy completely. That obsession transformed him. He stopped seeing humans as people. He began seeing them as fuel. Berserk eventually created a hierarchy inside the Shadowland built around concepts of human existence itself. Those concepts became his 6 generals. The 6 generals. The 6 are not random demons. Each represents a core aspect of humanity. Love, life, loyalty, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. These entities operate like commanders within Berserk's system. They manipulate people psychologically before physically. Each one attacks human weakness differently. Knowledge seeks curiosity. Wisdom manipulates overconfidence. Love twists emotional attachment. Loyalty corrupts trust. Understanding dismantles certainty. Life manipulates survival instinct itself. The 6 are important because defeating one creates imbalance. And imbalance creates openings for replacement. That becomes extremely important later. Wrath Van Ellis. Wrath begins as a violent, reckless teenager in Chicago. He gets suspended constantly. He fights often. He carries anger he doesn't fully understand. Most of that anger traces back to his father, Marcus Van Ellis. Marcus supposedly died during the Iraq War years earlier. Officially, it was written off as a military casualty, but the truth is darker. Marcus encountered Berserk's influence during the war and discovered artifacts connected to the Shadowland. Before dying, Marcus mailed one object back home to his son, a black stone necklace. That necklace becomes the center of Wrath's evolution. The lightning incident. Everything changes during the Chicago substation explosion. Electricity erupts across the city. Transformers explode. Reality destabilizes. Wrath is struck directly by lightning while wearing the black stone. Technically, he dies. But instead of remaining dead, the collision between lightning energy and shadow energy causes a rebirth event. That is one of the most important pieces of lore in the series. Wrath is no longer a normal human, but he also is no longer fully connected to shadow corruption either. The lightning purified portions of the darkness during resurrection. That's why Wrath's energy becomes unique. His powers are born from shadow energy, electrical rebirth, inherited trauma, survival instinct, emotional intensity. His lightning is not random electricity. It represents purification through destruction. He died and came back altered. That separates him from Berserk's system entirely. How the power system works. The power system in the Misadventures of a Hidden World is based around emotional energy and spiritual alignment. Powers are not random anime abilities. Everything has cause and effect. Shadow energy reacts to emotional intensity, mental focus, trauma, instinct, survival pressure. Wrath's shadows evolve because he constantly pushes himself beyond physical limits. His abilities adapt during combat. At first, tendrils, spikes, shadow whips. Later, wings, armor, autonomous shadow reactions, environmental absorption, enhanced reflexes. Eventually, the Blackstone evolves into a living sword, a shadow combat suit, adaptive combat synchronization. But the important thing is this: the powers evolve because Wrath evolves psychologically. The story never treats powers as random unlocks. Every evolution changes him mentally, too. Katie Johnson. Katie is one of the emotional anchors of the series. Unlike Wrath, Katie approaches situations logically. She represents humanity reacting realistically to impossible situations. But over time, exposure to shadow energy and the training arc changes her permanently. During the training arc, Katie develops energy sensitivity, heightened perception, spiritual awareness, combat synchronization abilities. She becomes capable of reading energy movement and reacting faster than ordinary humans. Katie's development matters because she proves not every strong character needs overwhelming destructive powers. Sometimes survival, awareness, and intelligence matter more. Bart Wentz, The Fall of Knowledge. Bart starts as comic relief. He documents battles, takes notes, makes jokes during disasters. But underneath everything, Bart envies Wrath. Not openly, not immediately. He feels powerless while constantly standing beside someone becoming stronger every day. That insecurity slowly corrupts him. The most important detail: Wrath kills the original General of Knowledge. That creates a vacancy. Berserk notices Bart's obsession with learning and understanding power. So Bart becomes the replacement, not loyalty. Knowledge. That transformation is tragic because Bart fully chooses corruption. He isn't mind-controlled. He wants power badly enough to betray everyone. And once he joins Berserk, he commits fully. No redemption arc, no last-minute regret. Bart becomes one of the main long-term villains of the series. Kenji Nomura. Kenji begins as Wrath's school rival. Disciplined, controlled, calculated, everything Wrath is not. But eventually the truth is revealed. Kenji is Berserk's son. That changes the entire narrative. Kenji was never just a rival. He was part of Berserk's bloodline from the beginning. Unlike Wrath's chaotic evolution, Kenji fights with precision. He trains constantly in the background during the training arc alongside Bart. By Book 2, he becomes one of the deadliest fighters in the story. Kenji represents controlled darkness. Wrath represents unstable rebirth. Their rivalry becomes ideological. The training arc. After the destruction of Chicago escalates, the story transitions into the training arc. This portion expands the universe heavily. New characters emerge: Irish, Dax, Silas, Liko. Each serves different purposes in world building. Irish specializes in tactical combat philosophy. Dax focuses on raw pressure and endurance. Silas studies ancient Shadowland history and dimensional theory. Liko becomes tied to mysterious creature lore and hidden ecosystem knowledge. The training arc is important because it slows the story down enough to explore emotional consequences, combat mechanics, politics, civilian reactions, underground organizations, hidden history. It also shows that powers alone are not enough. Discipline matters, strategy matters, mental stability matters. The murder mystery element. One of the future storylines introduces a murder mystery involving a major heroic figure. But the mystery is layered into the larger war narrative. The point is not just who killed them. The point is how paranoia spreads during supernatural conflict. Trust collapses, alliances fracture, people begin hiding information. That psychological pressure becomes just as dangerous as demons. Why the story takes place in real locations. Chicago is not just a backdrop. The city itself becomes part of the story's identity. South Side streets, train stations, alleys, neighborhoods, lakefront areas. Grounding supernatural events in recognizable places makes the chaos feel believable. Citizens exist in this world. People lose homes, businesses collapse, news spreads, conspiracy theories form. Every action creates consequences. It's the tone of the series. One of the unique parts of the Misadventures of a Hidden World is tonal balance. The story mixes psychological horror, action, comedy, philosophy, emotional realism. Influences include Dragon Ball Z's Frieza arc scale and tension, Adventure Time's strange world building, regular show's absurd humor, The Art of War's strategic philosophy. Characters joke during disasters because that's realistic. Humor becomes survival instinct. The series intentionally avoids becoming emotionally one-note. Why Wrath matters. Wrath is dangerous to Berserk because he breaks the rules. He was supposed to become corrupted fully. Instead, lightning resurrection purified part of his existence. That means shadow energy cannot fully control him. Berserk cannot fully predict him. Evolution affects him differently. Wrath becomes a living contradiction. Darkness fused with purification. That's why Berserk becomes obsessed with him. Not because Wrath is the chosen one, because he's unpredictable. Book 1's real purpose. Book 1 is not about defeating Berserk. It is about awakening. Every major character changes permanently. Wrath becomes reborn. Bart falls into corruption. Kenji's bloodline is revealed. Katie enters the hidden world. The Six become active. Chicago becomes compromised. By the end of Book 1, nobody truly wins. They survive. That's the tragedy. The future of the series. As the story continues, countries become involved. Hidden factions emerge. Sea travel expands the setting. Japan becomes important later. New dimensions and histories unfold. Berserk's empire grows. Wrath's lightning evolution deepens. But the core theme always remains the same. People trying to survive inherited chaos. Final author message. The Misadventures of a Hidden World was created by Chyil McGee. This universe was built from original lore, original characters, layered world building, emotional conflict, philosophy, supernatural horror, anime influence, music culture, real-world environments, and personal storytelling identity. This isn't just a power fantasy. It's a story about identity, pressure, betrayal, legacy, survival, rebirth. And this is only the beginning. Created by Chyil McGee, also known as Jose Wopp, Mr. Lose His Top 2026. Chyil McGee. All rights reserved. The Misadventures of a Hidden World and all associated characters, lore, concepts, storylines, locations, powers, dialogue, names, visuals, and intellectual property are original creations owned solely by Chyil McGee. Unauthorized reproduction, adaptation, reposting, AI replication, redistribution, or commercial usage is prohibited without direct written permission. The Misadventures of a Hidden World. Complete story summary plus full character and power guide. Created by Chyil McGee, also known as Jose Wopp, Mr. Lose His Top. Book 1, The Awakening of Wrath. Book 1 begins in Chicago in 2018 with Wrath Van Ellis, an angry teenager carrying emotional trauma from the death of his father, Marcus Van Ellis. Wrath constantly fights at school, struggles with rage, and wears a mysterious black stone necklace mailed to him by his father before dying in Iraq. One night, during a massive electrical disaster in Chicago, Wrath is struck directly by lightning near a destroyed substation. The black stone reacts violently. Wrath technically dies during the strike, but the collision between lightning energy and ancient shadow energy resurrects him into something entirely new. This changes everything. Wrath awakens shadow abilities connected to an ancient dimension called the Shadowland, a world created from negative human emotions and ruled by the being known as Berserk. As Wrath learns to control his evolving shadow powers, demons begin invading Chicago. Wrath fights alongside Katie Johnson, Bart Wentz. Katie becomes the emotional core of the group, while Bart acts as the observer, documenting everything happening around them. As the story progresses, Wrath discovers Berserk may have caused his father's death. The 6 generals of Berserk are introduced. Wrath evolves repeatedly during combat. His shadows gain intelligence. His necklace transforms into a living sword and armor system. Lightning begins purifying parts of his corrupted energy. Meanwhile, Bart secretly becomes obsessed with power. After Wrath defeats the original General of Knowledge, Berserk replaces that missing position with Bart himself. Bart betrays the group and becomes the new Knowledge. At the same time, another truth is revealed. Kenji Nomura, Wrath's longtime rival, is actually Berserk's biological son. Book 1 ends with Chicago partially destroyed, Bart becoming evil permanently, Kenji revealing his bloodline, Wrath realizing the war is much larger than expected, Berserk preparing future invasions. The first book is not about victory, it is about awakening. Book 2. The Fracture Book 2 expands the world beyond Chicago. The aftermath of Book 1 spreads fear across the city. Civilians begin noticing supernatural destruction, missing people, strange black storms, and unexplained massacres tied to shadow activity. Wrath struggles mentally after Bart's betrayal. He becomes more isolated and aggressive while trying to understand why his lightning resurrection made him different from normal shadow beings. During this period, the remaining 6 become active, hidden organizations appear, ancient records about Berserk are uncovered, international interest in shadow phenomena begins. New major characters enter: Irish, Dax, Silas, Liko. Each brings different knowledge and combat styles into the story. Book 2 focuses heavily on training, survival, strategy, emotional consequences, hidden histories, political tension, civilian fear. Meanwhile, Bart trains under Berserk and Kenji. Kenji perfects his combat abilities. Berserk manipulates events from the background. The story becomes darker and more tactical. Wrath begins realizing raw strength alone will not save anyone. The deeper he enters the shadow conflict, the more he learns. Every power comes with psychological consequences. Book 2 also introduces larger world lore involving dimensional fractures, shadow contamination, ancient wars, forbidden techniques, hidden bloodlines. The ending of Book 2 sets up the training arc and the larger global conflict to come. That's the training arc, evolution. The training arc slows the pacing down intentionally to focus on character evolution. Instead of non-stop battles, the story explores philosophy, discipline, emotional growth, combat mastery, world building, history. Wrath trains to stabilize the balance between his purified lightning energy and shadow abilities. This becomes extremely important because he is no longer fully corrupted. The lightning resurrection fundamentally changed his soul. Katie develops enhanced energy awareness during this period and becomes far more capable in combat support and battlefield prediction. Irish, Dax, Silas, and Liko each contribute specialized knowledge: strategy, endurance, dimensional theory, creature lore. Meanwhile, Bart and Kenji train separately under Berserk. Bart develops terrifying intelligence-based shadow techniques tied to knowledge. Kenji becomes a precise combat monster capable of overwhelming opponents through calculated brutality. The training arc also introduces real-world travel, hidden ruins, underground networks, ancient shadow research, secret combat philosophies. By the end of the training arc, everyone has evolved emotionally and physically, but the coming war is still approaching. The world of the series. The universe operates through emotional energy systems tied to spiritual balance. The Shadowland feeds on rage, greed, betrayal, obsession, fear, violence, ambition. Power evolves through emotional intensity, survival, trauma, instinct, discipline. Every ability has consequences. No random powers exist. Evolution must make sense within the lore. Full character guide. Wrath Van Ellis role, main protagonist. Personality, aggressive, sarcastic, reckless, emotionally damaged, loyal. Origin, revived by lightning collision with shadow energy. Core theme, rebirth through destruction. Powers, shadow manipulation, tendrils, spikes, shadow blades, shadow armor, shadow wings, living sword manifestation, adaptive combat evolution, energy absorption, enhanced speed reflexes, lightning energy, combat instinct synchronization, regenerative resistance, environmental manipulation through shadows. Special trait, Wrath's lightning resurrection purified portions of his shadow corruption, making him fundamentally different from Berserk's creations. Tack, Katie Johnson. Role, main emotional anchor and tactical support. Personality, grounded, intelligent, realistic, emotionally strong. Powers, energy sensitivity, spiritual awareness, combat synchronization, battlefield prediction, enhanced perception, fast reaction processing. Special trait, Katie survives through intelligence rather than overwhelming destructive power. Bart Wentz, role major antagonist. Former role, comic relief and observer. New position, general of knowledge. Personality, intelligent, insecure, obsessive, manipulative. Powers, knowledge-based shadow manipulation, energy analysis, combat prediction, shadow constructs, information absorption, tactical adaptation, shadow armor, precision attacks, dark energy amplification. Special trait, Bart willingly chose corruption after envying Wrath's power. No redemption. Kenji Nomura, role, rival antagonist, identity, son of Berserk. Personality, controlled, disciplined, ruthless, calm. Powers, precision shadow combat, advanced martial arts, shadow blades, high-speed movement, combat analysis, adaptive offense, tactical combat mastery, enhanced physicality. Special trait, Kenji represents controlled darkness while Wrath represents chaotic rebirth. Berserk role, main overarching villain. Identity, ruler of the Shadowland. Personality, manipulative, strategic, ancient, philosophical. Powers, Shadowland control, dimensional manipulation, demon creation, corruption influence, emotional energy harvesting, hierarchy creation, energy domination, psychological manipulation. Special trait, Berserk views humans as evolutionary experiments. Tesh, the Six Generals. Love, manipulates emotional attachment and emotional weakness. Abilities, emotional distortion, attachment manipulation, psychological confusion, illusion pressure. Life represents survival instinct and biological control. Abilities, vitality manipulation, fear enhancement, physical pressure, life force distortion. Loyalty represents corrupted trust and allegiance. Abilities, influence reinforcement, obedience pressure, group manipulation, mental conditioning. Knowledge, originally defeated by Wrath. Replaced by Bart. Abilities, tactical analysis, information absorption, predictive combat intelligence, adaptive learning. Wisdom represents strategic superiority. Abilities, combat foresight, analytical pressure, advanced tactical adaptation. Understanding represents comprehension and psychological breakdown. Abilities, mental dismantling, perception disruption, strategic destabilization. Irish role, combat strategist introduced later. Personality, sharp, calm, tactical. Powers, tactical combat specialization, pressure point combat, battlefield leadership, strategic coordination. Dax role, heavy combat specialist. Personality, intense, durable, straightforward. Powers, massive physical durability, endurance amplification, shockwave combat, reinforced striking power. Silas role, historian and dimensional researcher. Personality, quiet, observant, analytical. Powers, dimensional awareness, ancient symbol interpretation. Energy reading, historical shadow knowledge. Lyco role, mysterious creature-linked character. Personality, unpredictable, strange, observant. Powers, creature communication, survival adaptation, hidden ecosystem awareness, stealth movement. Marcus Van Ellis role, Wrath's father. Importance, his death and artifact discovery caused the story itself. Powers before death, unknown fully, but deeply connected to shadow artifacts during the Iraq War. Special trait, the Blackstone necklace originated through Marcus. Yin and Yang role, twin shadow entities serving Berserk. Personality, observational, manipulative, amused. Powers, shadow movement, surveillance, psychological pressure, coordinated dual attacks, dimensional concealment. The main themes of the story. The series focuses on inherited trauma, survival, identity, corruption, rebirth, betrayal, power consequences, emotional evolution. Nobody receives strength for free. Every action creates consequences. Every evolution changes the person mentally. Final author message. The Misadventures of a Hidden World is an original supernatural action fantasy universe created by Chyil McGee. Inspired by anime, philosophy, real cities, music culture, psychological